Good day, everybody. My name is Frank, and you are on the Jill and Frank show. Unfortunately, for tonight and quite possibly next week as well, Jill will not be able to join us. I had my baptism through fire last week and had to do the show alone. And so it was a new experience for me, and I suspect for you. But we pulled through, so we're going to try to do it again today. Now, I'm just trying to give people a little bit of time to come in. So now, if anybody comes on our page and interacts with us, like I would like to thank you personally and to say, like, we really appreciate it. I like taking the time. Some of you, I'll remember your names. I mean, if you talk to me once and you don't talk to me for 2 months, I may not. But if we interact, or if you guys come on our page, there's always going to be something going on there, some good conversation. Okay, so I guess that's enough time for people to go in. So tonight, I decided to pick a topic that I think is important. It ties into spiritual life in so much as, to me, spiritual life is basically just life. And if you want to have a good spiritual life, somebody had told me, here's what, like when I was on the streets and I was panhandling, yes, that's a thing. I was on the streets and panhandling. But at some point, some lady stopped and we had a long conversation about my thoughts on spirituality at the time. I was pretty young. I was 19 years old at the time. And she told me, she said, well, here's the deal. She said, you got to be careful with spirituality because you can't really reach any of the other realms, if you will, or whatever, and until you've actually mastered the one that you're in, right? And I was like, okay, whatever, that, yeah, that kind of made sense. But it stayed with me for a few years, and well, it took a long time before it actually, it kind of stayed in there and it just played. And so at some point when I went to rehab, uh, life took a turn, obviously a different turn, and I remembered that. And that's when I started rebuilding my life and going like, no, I'm going to do something productive of myself. I'm going to do something better and whatever. And so that was a turning point. Now, anyways, uh, really we're going to get right into the topic there. What I want to talk about tonight is the importance of your environment. Now, I say environment, and everybody immediately will think, your physical environment, right? Like, are you in a field? Are you in a, and that is a part of it. It's a big part of it. But there are other environments as well that are important. Now, one of the things as well is that, like, I'm going to keep the best one for last, so I don't want to tell you too much about it, but like, stick around. Like, that one is it's going to surprise you a little bit to be called an environment, but it is. So the first one, let's start with the first one. That's your physical environment. That's the more obvious one, right? So why do I bring it up? What does your environment have to do with your spiritual life? Well, let's say I'm trying to take up meditation. I'm trying to take up any kind of spiritual practice. Like, I'm going, okay, I'm going to dedicate my life to doing good and whatever. Now, if you're not in the right environment, like, let's say I'm in a place where everybody's always yelling at each other, they're all screaming, freaking out, whatever. Like, this is not an environment where I'm going to sit in any kind of meditation and be able to do anything, right? So that's when, it's not the only time, but that's a harsh example. But I'll use an example I just went through, right? Like, I'm going through stuff in my life, whatever, like some difficulties. And one of the things, I'm not the cleanest person to begin with. Like, it's always been a struggle for me and whatnot. But now I knew, I was like, okay, I need an absolute, like, from the get-go environment. Like, I need something that I can think is, and it does make a difference. That's the whole thing, right? I went through a crazy setup, cleaning, whatever, but that by changing my environment, and it changed the functionality of the environment as well, then I was changing my mind, right? Because now the way I'm going to think is going to be clearer. The way I'm going to do things, the way I'm going to act in that said environment is going to be very different. I have a video on YouTube under my channel, Boundless Mind. And in that video, one of the examples I use is if you wanted to write a book, and I put you either in a nice hotel, there's a maid, whatever, they come every morning, make your bed, bring you flowers, whatever, candy, you name it, and you're writing your book there. Or I stick you in, like, a car part factory, or like some really loud environment, some really, where you can't really concentrate. You're not going to get the same result. A, you're probably going to take a lot longer to write that same book. B, it's not going to be the same book, I'm sure, in the end, right? So your environment is going to have that impact on you. So it's important to understand that we have this two-way sort of relationship with our environment, right? We affect it, we can change it, and it affects us. So nothing stops us. Like, I always like the whole concept behind what I do at the Boundless Mind is based on the fact that you have different building blocks, right? And so those are some of the building blocks. You can go and create an environment that makes you more in a certain mood, or in a certain, if my office is a place where when I go in I'm happy, then it's a good place. Now, the other very important thing is, what resources do you have? That is an environment, the environment of resources. And that one has actually like three parts. It's got your financial resources, it's got your technological resources, and it's got your tools. Now sometimes there's an overlap, obviously, between the last two, but that's where your resources is. So let's say you want to start something. Let's say you're, I don't know, you hate your job, right? You come to me, like, we're doing coaching. You come to me, you say, look, things are not happening. I don't know. I want to quit my job. I'd want to do something. I don't know what it is I want to do, whatever. And you come confused, right? By looking sometimes at, okay, what can you do? What's in your environment that you can use in order for you to reach the next step, right? In order for you, and even if it wasn't the next step, to reach the stepping point that brings you to the next step, right? That's where you kind of play with that, because uh, I kind of lost my train of thought here. But yeah, you need to take inventory of what it is you have and how you can best use it. So let's say you're gonna have to look for a job. Do you have a car? Do you have a phone? What do you have available to you? Do you live in the middle of nowhere, and any kind of job? You work at the corner store and there's six houses in your village, and it's about the only job within 100,000 miles. You know what I mean? Like, you're just, okay, sure, that's a different. But if you have resources, if you live far but have a car, if you got to look at what it is you have and how you can use it best in order to accomplish your goals, right? Now, do you have money? Like, now, everybody's trying to get rich. The truth is, money is not a goal in itself. It's not a thing. Money provides you things. So what you need, really, what do you need? You need food, you need a shelter, you need like, asking the right questions in these exercises can be very important. Because really, when you're looking at money, what you're looking is at the way to acquire what it is you really want. So if what you want is, a big house, well, you want money because you'd like to have a big house. No, don't make it money because you'd like to have a big house. Make it, I'd like a big house. Now, money might get you a big house. A rich uncle might get you a big house, right? It's a different mindset. You have to, when you're playing with your environment and with your mind, and you have to kind of make these things work for you. Now, technological resources are obvious. The tools, obviously, those things are all very obvious. Another resource, though, that's very important and is often forgotten, but it is part of our environment, right? Like, environment design is making every element at our disposal work for us. Sorry. So the one other resource is time, right? If, let's say, I want to start this podcast, but I don't even have 5 minutes per week. Like, I'm stuck. I have, 6 kids. I'm running around everywhere. I don't know. Well, I might not be able to do an hour podcast every week, right? So I have to know that I have the time that I have. And how long do I have to make the podcast good, right? I mean, at first it's going to suck. And over time, it's going to get better. So, how long do I have for that to happen? Am I doing it, and you got to start asking the questions. Am I doing it as a hobby? What's my goal? Why am I doing it? Like, I'm doing it to help you guys, if you guys even exist. And I know some of you come. So, I don't know, but that's the reason I do it. Now, the resource I like to spend, you know, something that's very important, that's very forgotten, and that people I find in the spiritual community tend to forget, is the resource of people. The people around you, the people you surround yourself with, the people you allow in your life, the people you disallow in your life. What influence do people have on you, right? What influence do you have on people? That's another good question. How do you interact with them? Now, there's different categories of people, right? Like, I like to say there's the networking people. So let's say you're starting a business, you're doing any kind of stuff like that. You're going to network with people. So you're going to meet people, you have similar interests, whatever, but you're not friends. You just kind of, chatted for 10 minutes, liked each other a little bit, exchanged information, whatever. You go on your merry way. But those are people that you've connected enough with that you can kind of create a little relationship if you harvest it, if you call them every once in a while and you learn something about them and whatever, right? But you don't have to keep contact with, they don't have to become your best friend. But the thing is, those people at different times in your life, when you're going to come to different situations, will be resources. They will be key people that will be able to jump in and say, hey, here's what, I'm here, I'm there to help, right? So it's very important to nurture that. And obviously, if you want to nurture that, well, try to be there for the people as well. But more importantly is the closest people to you. People forget that, but we let all kinds of toxic individuals into our lives. And then we're like, oh my God, why am I not succeeding in life? Really? You think, like, you go to your 9 to 5 job, you come back home, you get yelled at all night. Where are you gonna go from there? You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to even think properly for 5 minutes. You don't even think, like, whatever resource, whatever energy you had that you could put into a new project, it's being robbed, right? So those are the relationships, and they're hard to look at. When I first got into this, when I first started learning about coaching and everything, and when I learned how to do environment design, well, I had to face that I was not in the right relationship for me at all. And I had to, it was a reality I had to come to, but it was a hard one. And it didn't come easy, and it didn't come right away. It came over time. And I nearly avoided doing coaching based on that reaction, that initial reaction I had to it, because it was a hard reality for me to accept. But sometimes that's what we have to deal with. We have to deal with, hey, this is a harsh reality, but it's one that I must face. So, number one, you look at the people around you. Here's the basic questions: is this person helping me grow, or is this person bringing me down? right? And it's not an easy question to answer. So you make a list of all the people you know, your friends, your lovers, your, whatever, and you go, okay, what is this person to me? Are they, do they bring me joy? Do they bring me pain? Do they bring me, and if they bring you pain and they bring you like sadness and they bring you, and there's nothing in it for you, guess what? Those people are draining you. And I know some of them will be family, some of them will be, and that's a hard reality. Um, yes, for a lot of us, and I think in this day and age, in particular, for a lot of us, yes, it's going to be family, um, because we're all trying to break patterns. We're all trying to better ourselves. We're all trying to become the spiritual beings that we actually are. So it's important that we do these things. So that's, the people around you. That's where, you know. Now, the second last environment, and remember, the last one is the most important one. But your spiritual environment, right? Now, here's what I wrote when I wrote my video. Like, because I said, if you're an atheist, just follow through, because it'll apply in many ways. What did I say? I said, okay, yeah. So try to look at it as the things that either replenish you or the things that deplete you of whatever. If it's an energy, it's an energy. If it's just emotional, think of it as just emotional. Doesn't matter, but it's about your well being. It's about you being able to remain as much as possible in a calm, non reactive way, as the observer is what people like to call it. So you need to bring yourself to a place where you can look at not only the world around you, but you have to bring yourself in a place where you can look at yourself. Um, and yeah, it's very important that you work on something that will allow you to slow down, allow you to breathe, allow you to meditate. I That's the only thing I always tell people that they should do. If you don't do anything else, meditate, because it will make a difference in your life. If you do it for any period of time, like, trust me, before I did 6 months in a row, it probably took me 6 years. So, don't even, like, that's not even a thing to worry about. You're going to do it once. You're not going to do it for a week. You're going to do it 3 days the next week. You're going to do it. If you're anything like me, it's going to be messy. It's going to be all over the place. But if you stick at it and you try to reach that point where you kind of get a few months, like 6 months, I'd say, to a year, like whatever, any length of time, you'll know when you get there, because yeah, things will be different, because you become able to look at yourself from a detached position. So your thoughts that were always like leading you, and your emotions sometimes that were leading you, like, and depending on who it is I'm talking to, it could be completely your emotions, it could be completely your thoughts, it could be a balance of both. But we tend to do it in a non-aware way. We do it in a way that we're not even aware of what we're doing, because it's all based on our ego. It's our ego takes the autopilot role that we gave it in the first place, and then we just function in autopilot. But it's important every once in a while to disengage that autopilot and to say, okay, well, wait a minute, where are we go? Is the autopilot still doing a good job, right? Where are we going? What's happening? Is this truly the path we wanted to go? And then what you start finding out sometimes is that maybe it wasn't the path that you were supposed to go. It was the path that everybody jumped at you and said you needed to go to. And now you can slowly start to appreciate who you actually are and who you were when you started this. Because, that part is important. Now, I've already gone into it, so I was gonna say the fifth environment, the one I said was at the end. Well, it's the environment of self. Your environment of self is everything you have to bring to the table, right? Like your skill set, your talents, your anything you think, anything you are. And so that's where it brings you into that looking inside for yourself. That once you're able to perceive yourself in a way that you're not attached to your own emotions and your own thoughts, but you're actually just looking at them. And as they take place, you start correcting them in a meaningful way. Then you know, okay, I've probably meditated a good amount of time, because that is what it will bring you if you meditate. That is the gift that it brings, is the ability to stop and to appreciate from a different standpoint who we are. Um, and there's a, as far as my beliefs are concerned, there's even further levels of depth. You also have your higher self that you can eventually reach, but that's a different thing altogether. But if we're talking about developing our environment of self, I mean, it's working on recognizing how we talk to ourselves, like self talk. It's an important thing to look at. People don't realize the way they talk to themselves, right? They're going through life, and because let's face it, most of us had pretty crappy parents, and it's not because they meant to be evil people. It's just because they did not come with much of an equipment. They didn't have the internet to find out everything instantly like we do. Now we're all discovering all this stuff. We're all talking to each other and going, oh, wait a minute. So it's not okay to wail on your kids, right? And it's not okay to. And so we're changing at an insane rate. And that's wonderful. And so what we're called to do is we have to look at ourselves and we have to unlearn everything that we just came with, because most of it is not reality. It's not us, it's our parents that have projected their shadows on us. And so we're basically a nice collection of our parents' shadows. And then that created our own shadows, and we have to kind of work at it. But that's the beauty of it. That's how, if you work at all those things, like I guarantee it, you work at all those things, you get to a place where you have, number one, that confidence. Here's something that's important that people always say, like they talk about the ego death, right? As if that's their goal. Now, the ego death is a thing, but it's not a thing that you start on the spiritual path and go, oh, I'm going to kill my ego. Because most people that come into the spiritual path actually have a very bruised ego. And so, in reality, what most of us have to do in order to get to the next step is to actually heal our ego, but not let it take over. And that's where the meditation comes into play, because the meditation allows you to be outside of it and witness it and start making decisions that may not go hand in hand with your ego. You might say, wait a minute, dude, that's my ego. Stop it, buddy. And so having that detachment from your ego is a very powerful tool. Now, does that stay all the time? And not for me, not so far. It's something that my ego takes over sometimes for a long time, and then all of a sudden I go, what the hell am I doing? I'm being led, like the last 2 weeks, what have I been doing, right? Like it happens. I think that's very normal, but it's because we've used our ego. People don't realize, like we started off, millions of years ago, right? Our ego is our defense mechanism. It's our survival. When we had to fight everything around us, then we had to make most of life very automatic, because we were walking in the woods and we had to make, like, not stepping on, whatever rocks or whatever. That was secondary to not being eaten by some crazy thing, or like we we were living in a constant state of fear, right? Which, oddly enough, we still are today. But it's because of stress, and it's very different. But here's how it developed: we got that fear response to those things, but now we get the same fear response to stress. And so when stress happens, we go, I should fight, or I should like run away and drop my job or drop everything, right? And we're constantly in that decision between two absolutely wrong answers, because neither one of those things will work, right? Like, modern problems require modern solutions. But the only way that we get out of that is if we can get ourselves out of that fight or flight and into a nice, calm state, right? If you simply do nothing else but learn to breathe a certain pattern, and you do it twice a day for 10 minutes, or once a day for 20, or half an hour, if you can push it, I mean, yeah, the longer the better. You'll find that out over experience. But at first, whatever time you can, but if you kind of remind yourself and go, oh, maybe, and during the day, nothing stops you from going, hey, you know what? Wait a minute. How often do you breathe like that? Look at how you're breathing right now. You're breathing from your chest, you're breathing like shallow. Yeah, because that's how we breathe every day. Now, right now, do it. Just take a moment, relax your shoulders. And now just kind of, go. Now it's okay. Keep listening to me, but try to keep on breathing like that during the show. You'll see. By the end of the show, you'll feel better. Also, because I'm so awesome. But, no, the breathing will probably do more than me. I mean, I'll fill your brain with a bunch of opinions, and the breathing will relax you and make you, take my opinions better, I guess. All right, guys. So that's my big thing on environment. And really, if you're in an environment where you're struggling, where people mistreat you, where you feel that you're in danger, where you need to find a way out, like that is 100% like, there's no other way. Yes, the truth is, yes, it will suck. It has sucked for everybody that has done it for a certain time. But once you get out of that and when you change your life, you have to shed a lot of your life. It's like a package, it all comes as a package deal. And so when you're shedding some bad parts that you're conscious of, sometimes it needs to shed a whole bunch of surrounding stuff. And you have to learn to be okay with that, because that's the process that it uses. So we have to be able to just go, okay, this I abandon in order to get into the new, right? Um, that part is often people forget about that. So, and here's an okay. When we talk about the environment of self, here's one that people never look at. Everybody takes those for granted for some reason, and that's an ego trick, by the way. Your beliefs. Number one, if you really dig deeper into it, most of your beliefs are probably not your beliefs. They're probably your parents' beliefs, your favorite uncle's beliefs, your we had a whole bunch of influence as kids, and we took it all because nobody was there to tell us, hey, you know what, buddy, look inside you. That's where you get all the answers. Now, today, I think there's some of us that are starting to do it with kids, and as far as I can tell, it's giving really good results. Kids are reacting very well to it. Like, I don't. I rarely, if ever, have to freak out at kids because they just like if you respect them, they'll respect you back. Kids are very awesome that way. But anyways, I digress, guys. I think when I'm alone, this could be it. 30 minutes might be all I'm able to give you guys. It's unless anybody will, kick in with some topics. I'm gonna do something that I have been wanting to do for a while. Let me give it a second. I want to try to find. Okay, here's one. Okay, so here's what I was thinking of doing. Maybe I'm gonna read some Facebook posts, and I'm gonna say what I think about them. Let's see. I have an opinion on everything, so it should be interesting. Now, this one I like. It's a friend of mine, actually. It says, "You're not lazy, unmotivated, or stuck. After years of living your life in survival mode, you're exhausted. There's a difference." Now, for some people, yes, there is a difference. The people we were talking about before, that's the reason why it seems so hard to leave. Because right now you're exhausted. You whatever you're living in has you exhausted, has you struggling, and that's okay. You need to forgive yourself for not having that strength because it's hard. You've been stolen a lot of strength, but whenever you have some, try to take it to get there because if you do, you'll build strength again. I can guarantee you that. I've been there, by the way. So, uh, what other ones could be good? My Facebook has changed. You'll be amazed at what you attract into your life when you start believing in what you deserve. That is very true as well. That is a very like here's the deal. Like everybody talks law of attraction and whatever. Like yes, there's some truth to that because even if nothing else, you can. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not gonna get there one way or another, right? If you start going, yeah, I deserve this, I should be able to get it, because we all deserve it. Nobody is more. Does Elon Musk in some way deserve to be him? Or did he just, put a whole bunch of stuff together that, like, he worked at it, right? Like, now he has a different brain, granted, like, you may not accomplish the same things as him, but you can be accomplished and you can, so you have to believe that you have something. Now, it circles back to what I was saying. It's inside you. Adults, when you were a kid, projected on you. They put all their angers on you. They put all their faults on you. Everything went on the kids. That's what we do as adults. That's what I think some of us are learning not to do anymore. Probably not enough yet, but we'll get there. But that's the deal, guys. And we do this repeatedly. Now we have to learn to look at ourselves and not do that and have a better relationship with the world. We can. Everybody can have like an amazing relationship with the world. You just have to start living the world a different way. But a lot of it is around boundaries. If you guys have not, go to Boundless Mind, go to my channel and check out my video on boundaries. Boundaries are crucial. If you do not have boundaries, you're just not protecting yourself. You're not doing your due diligence to yourself. And that is number one. If you don't have good boundaries right now, stop anything else you think you need to work on, unless you're starting meditation. That's always good. Um, but whatever you're doing, like, maybe go see a therapist because they can help with that, but learn boundaries. You have to learn boundaries. That is your number one priority, because if you have boundaries, the world does not react the same way to you anymore. See, what people who have no boundaries don't realize, we think we're people pleaser, right? And often we are, because we say yes to everything. Problem is, a lot of times we assume people should know that they shouldn't do this, that, and this. And then they do it, and they do it repeatedly, and they don't know they're doing it. And then we freak out because they're doing it, and they're like, what the hell is going on? What's with you? Right? And then we're like, well, what an a-hole. They won't even acknowledge that they're doing it. And it becomes this whole thing that we do. Um, Again, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, all this to say, yes, you have to go through life by thinking that you, the same as Elon Musk, the same as anybody, can actually get there. That's all I wanted to say with that one. But it was a good. You know what, you guys? The truth is, I think I had my topic tonight. I did 30 minutes. I need Jill badly. so, so here's what I'm gonna call it a night. I hope this episode was still enjoyable to you guys, and so I will see you on the next one. And I'll try to bring more topics because half an hour is about all I can do at this point. All right, guys. Let me just try to play Jill's video here. All right, guys. I'll see you on the next one.